What do we make of Auburn going into 2025? It's year 3 for Hugh Freeze. People on the plains are starting to get a little antsy, and whether or not we believe that they're obtainable, there are legit goals for the Auburn head coach, which is why I think it's one of the toughest jobs in football, because those on the plains believe they should be competing for conference championships, college football playoff appearances, and national title bouts. And on paper, honestly, Auburn has the roster this year to do so and achieve all those goals. But they're going to have to answer these 3 questions if they want to get over the hump. So let's break it all down. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification, and subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials. Link in the description. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson. And check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This episode is fueled by FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today in the action by getting $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So lay down $5, win that bet. You're going to get $200 back in bonus bets. What's not to love? Signing up and joining the madness today at FANDUEL.com/SECU. So my first question, has everything finally arrived on the plains? Because when I look at what we've been hearing about Auburn for the last 2 years and the identity is growing underneath Hugh Freeze, we're kind of at that final level. And I'll give a little bit of credit here. Hugh Freeze was dealt a bad hand, major issues with the program when he took the job from Liberty. There were issues from the Brian Harsin era. There were issues still left over and masquerading from the Gus Malzahn era. So he had a lot of things internally to fix. And I honestly believe that he's done so. But we also got to talk about the on-field results, where so far that really hasn't been the case. 6-7 in year 1, 5-7 in year 2, 11-14 through 2 seasons, and 1 top 25 win. And it came in 4 overtimes against a Texas A&M squad that was starting to lose momentum down the stretch. So they haven't had that must-win signature moment underneath Hugh Freeze just yet. But the reality is, in my opinion, the Tigers were kind of masquerading as a bad team in 2024. Like when you were a kid and you were playing make-believe, I believe that Auburn was make-believing itself as a bad team. That 5-7 record actually doesn't talk about how good Auburn was at times. They were a top 30 defense last year. And that's the frustrating part. They were in almost every single game, and they were just hindered by turnovers and winnable matchups. The Arkansas game, the Oklahoma Kip 6, Cal, Mizzou, Vanderbilt. I'm going to read you a stat. You're going to be really pissed off, Auburn Nation. 11-4 was the turnover ratio in all of those games. So really, you were closer to 9-3 than actually 5-7 and being a top 25 roster last year. So what'd you do? You went out in the portal and you spared no expense. You spent money like no one's business, and you put yourself in a really good position. Get better at quarterback with Jackson Arnold. You bring in Eric Singleton, the number 1 wide receiver in the market. You also added in more offensive linemen like Xavier Chaplin from Virginia Tech and Mason Murphy from USC. Defensively, you got better in the trenches with Dallas Walker, linebacker Xavier Atkins from LSU. Chris Murray from Sam Houston comes on in to play the buck position. Really good names that would have gone to multiple other schools are all picking to go to Jordan-Hare Stadium. And you also put together back-to-back recruiting classes of top 10 finishes with star players like Deuce Knight, Cam Coleman, Amarius Williams, Jared Smith, Malik Autry, players that were getting looked at by Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Florida State, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan, the premier programs in college football. And they're wanting to say, I got to stick closer to home. I want to be a part of the system that I know can be better because of I'm here. So all the pieces are there. Everything that we have heard about for Auburn and what they can be and what they're able to produce and how they're able to recruit talent and what Hugh Freeze has been able to do with winning on the recruiting trail and selling the identity of Auburn is all in place. But here's the deal. It's a lot like when you go grocery shopping and then eventually go out and eat every single night. You're stocking the pantry. It's filled to the brim with everything that you need to have a good recipe and make great meals and be able to lose that weight that you're trying to change your body and attitude. And then you're eating out at McDonald's 6 times a week and you're saying, okay, well, what's going wrong? And then all the ingredients spoil and it's Texas A&M 2022 all over again, where you think that you're trending upward and you're really not. Auburn knows what it should be this year. Auburn knows that they have all the pieces in play to put together at least a winnable season, get to a bowl game, finish top 25, be in ranked matchups against quality teams and be able to turn some of those losses into wins. They know they have that. But do you have the right coach? That's going to be the big question, because all the things that you're doing behind the scenes are really working, I think, for Hugh Freeze. But everything on the field, we kind of haven't seen that yet. And at some point, you kind of run out of time to be able to say, well, we're going to do it this year. We're going to turn the corner this year. No, it's already too late. This is the year where it's all going to come together. And I said that Auburn was going to be a player in year 3 underneath Hugh Freeze, especially in the transfer portal. They've achieved that goal. Now it's time to actually execute on the field. Question number 2 that I have: will the passing attack take a step forward? So you don't have Jarquez Hunter anymore. And frankly, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. This should have been the backbone of your team last year. If you watch my SEC offensive player top 10 rankings, you know how I felt about Jarquez Hunter. He was the number 10 player in the SEC for me this past year. And the fact that you didn't utilize him properly, well, that's a lesson learned for you, Hugh Freeze. But now your passing attack is going to have to take a step forward because you don't have the same type of running backs. I'm not saying that you can't be successful with what you have currently in the building. I know that you're going to trust Ashton Daniels and Jeremiah Cobb. You brought in Darrell Robertson. You have Alvin Henderson. Lots to like, but it's not the same team. The pieces are there, though, for you to have a stable passing attack. Eric Singleton, pure speed and a human joystick. He's coming on into the roster. Cam Coleman, the ability to be the best wide receiver to come through the Plains probably in the last 25 years. Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson, Bryson Kane, Horatio Fields joins the party. Sam Turner, Duke Smith. They're all top talents. Every single one of them was at least a 3-star. You have the weaponry to be able to put on really, I would say, 2 1,000-yard receiver campaigns. If not 2 1,000 yards and another 750 yard. You could be leading the SEC in passing yards per game. You could be leading the SEC in passing touchdowns. The question is, do you have the right quarterback? Super Bowl 59, 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether you're predicting the first touchdown, who will take home the MVP trophy, or the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to place your bets and feel the thrill of every moment. With live betting all game long, you can jump into the action, adjust your bets, and ride the wave of excitement from kickoff to the final whistle. Plus, to make the Super Bowl even sweeter, new customers can score $200 when you make your first bet. Just place a $5 bet, and if you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head on over to FanDuel.com/SECU and bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Disclaimer, must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus in D.C. First online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue with non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Okay, back to the show. I think the best thing for Jackson Arnold was leaving Norman, Oklahoma, because when he signed up to play for the Sooners coming out of Dallas, he was expected to play in Jeff Levy's system. Well, Jeff Levy left to go to Mississippi State. He stuck around to stick it out in Norman. They brought in 2 new offensive coordinators, a disastrous offensive line, limited wide receiver play, and now he has this bad reputation that he is a terrible quarterback. I politely disagree. I think that the best is still ahead for Jackson Arnold. And honestly, one of my favorite things is that he's going to a system that I think is going to benefit him. There's that mobility factor that you're throwing on in that you believe could actually be a difference maker for Auburn in 2025. But if he doesn't work out, do you turn to Deuce Knight? That was a kid that many people believe Hugh Freeze is betting his career on down on the Plains. And then you also bring in Ashton Daniels, another quarterback who has some mobility to his game from Stanford. Is he the right guy? Do you have the quarterback that can just stabilize your system and allow yourself to win in the passing attack? Because Auburn hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Y2K. 1999 was the very last time that we saw somebody on the Plains hit the 1K marker. They have the talent. And they have multiple players that should be able to reach this goal. Perry Thompson could. Bryce Kane could. I think Horatio Fields could. Cam Coleman certainly should. And Eric Singleton, he's coming on in to be that guy, the same way that Keandre Lambert-Smith was last year. But do you have the pieces to be able to? And if not, how do you make sure that you upgrade? How do you constantly put yourself in a good position with the quarterback battle, whether it's through the spring, throughout fall camp, that you know that QB1 is going to be able to deliver to these weapons? Because your passing attack is going to have to be the backbone this year, because you don't have the stable of a run game with Jarquez Hunter now off. And number 3, the biggest question that I have of all potentially, can this defense take another step forward? Honestly, for my opinion, the most underrated addition of last year's team was the arrival of DJ Durkin from Texas A&M. Auburn's defense ranked in the top 30 in multiple categories: scoring, rushing, passing touchdowns allowed, total yards allowed, red zone efficiency. They were really well put together with some veterans that came on into the party. They also had some bad and some actual mix-ups some here and there. 97th in turnover ratio was hit and miss. Their pass coverage was hit and miss. They were 75th in third down conversions, 60th in fourth down attempts. So there were some lulls to the secondary at times to where they weren't able to be a perfect unit, but still, DJ Durkin's back. There's some young up-and-comers that are going to have a bigger role, but you are losing some veteran talents. You no longer have Isaiah Rakes. Jalen McLeod is now off to the NFL. You also lost Bildy. You also lost Eugene Ostain. You also lost Jerry Thompson. So the young core is going to have to take that next step forward. They can. There's so much talent there, especially in the secondary. How do you feel about Jay Crawford going into year 2 as a starting cornerback? Can he be that difference maker? Because he was very promising and looked like an All-American in the works last season. But can he be that guy going into year 2, or will he have a sophomore slump? How do you feel about Kalen Lee stepping on up and being the number 1 cornerback this year? Do you feel like that he's done enough throughout the offseason and throughout last year that he can be that guy, the bona fide number 1 alpha who fits the same type of mentality as like a Roger McCreary? What about Champ Anthony? Can he be that guy now in the nickel position? How do you feel about the safety position with Caleb Harris stepping on up and Terrence Love coming on in? How do you feel about your defensive line? This was a very underrated unit last year. People are expecting them to kind of take that next step forward. Chris Murray, the Sam Houston defensive lineman, comes on in. He's going to be your buck linebacker. Kendrick Falk is, in my opinion, the best defender that Auburn has and one of the better ones they've had in over a decade. Can he have another breakout season? And can he shift inside defensive tackle if he has to on certain tries? What about Dallas Walker? What about Jamison Travis? How do you feel about those guys? How do you feel about potentially another guy stepping on up like Antonio Coleman or Amarius Williams finally living up to expectations? Because if that's what happens, Auburn, for my money, I know it's crazy to say because I'm not going to put them anywhere near my top 10. It's egregious that we see some top 10 rankings right now with Auburn featured in it. But being a dark horse for a college football playoff bid, it's not the question. Look at their schedule. Look at where they are. They should at least be competing for a 6-2 record going into the month of November. And I'm not saying the goal should be making the college football playoff. Nowhere near it, especially for a team that we have seen underachieve for years. But at least being in the conversation, being in the chatter, with games to close out your year against Kentucky, Mercer, Vanderbilt, the Iron Bowl now in Jordan Hare Stadium, with a team that we still have no idea what they're going to be in 2025, the brand new quarterback being implemented, a couple of new personnel members, what this offensive identity is going to be. There's a lot of reason to believe that at least Auburn on paper, should be able to compete. And that might be enough. Just setting a standard, a new era, an actual expectations and realistic goals that can be achieved. I'm never going to say that it's going to be met, but I will say that Auburn does have the pieces in play to where that type of reality, it's not that far off. A couple of good bumps in your way, and look at that. Auburn's now punching their ticket to the college football playoff. And Hugh Freeze is getting a brand new contract extension. And the Plains are actually popping because they realize, hey, we got the goals that we expected. We brought in all the pieces, and everything that we had been promised, it actually was met. They're really not that far off. If this defense can be sustainable, if this offense can have at least another juice or a step forward, I believe that Auburn at least is going to be a dark horse, a sleeper of such in the college football playoff run. But they got to answer these 3 questions first. But let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of Auburn? What kind of questions do you have going on to the Plains for 2025? Like, review, hit subscribe, follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, folks, I am Cole Thompson. War Eagle and Tiger fans, you'll be fine. Probably. I'm not sure. Bye.